bad but good. And I was like, I don't know about that. And then I remember there's a scene where she like parks on the cliff to go to like the men's institution. There's like lightning and a moon. I was like, wait a second. And then, the Matrix things, I'm like, that is kind of like ridiculous and goofy. And then I just start piecing them together. It was almost like, the movie. It's like, da, 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 da. I'm seeing things over. And I was like, holy shit, James Wan like made a schlock film as his cashing card.
He's coming for me. Who are you, Gabriel?
It's insane, right?
Art the clown.
I'm something different.
Okay, hello friends, and welcome back to another Modern Horror Movie Talk. I'm your host, Tyler Nichols, and look, we have our guests, John Fallon and Lance Belchick. And as you can tell, this might be not take one. So, how are you guys? How are you guys doing today?
Good, man. Good. How you been?
I'm very good. Very good. Thank you.
Doing wonderful. And today we are going to be talking about Malignant.
Nice.
And before we get into Malignant, there's also another movie that came out recently that has a very similar title. We may as well talk about it. John, your film just released, Malicious.
Yeah. By the way, it was initially called Break, but misspelled. So Braek. And in the opening titles, it would swap because there's little surprises in the movie. But the distributor, actually, it's pretty funny. The distributor that bought the movie wanted to call it Malicious Intent. And I was like, nah, man. And like when you sell a movie to a distributor, they could call it, Big Black Dick. And there's nothing you could do about it legally. Like straight up, that's how it is. But I fought it and I'm like, guys, it sounds like a Lifetime movie. It sounds so fucking, insert whatever you want. It just didn't sound right. So we negotiated, if you will. And finally, I'm like, all right, let's just call it Malicious. I had a screening in Beverly Hills. I think it was last week. I've been very close to it, as you can imagine. I directed it, I co-wrote it, I co-produced it. I didn't really know what I had. So it's the first time I see it on the big screen with a crowd. And, people laugh at the right spots, cringe at the right spots, very violent. Got surprised by the last act. So it played much better than I thought. So now I feel very confident with it. So Malicious, Guys and Dolls, is now out on your usual platforms like Amazon Prime, iTunes, Google Play, all this stuff in North America, but also in Ireland and the UK. And I hope you enjoy it. I can say now, even though there's shit I would change, but I had to fight a lot. I'm cool with it. But for a long time, I wasn't because there was a lot of battles behind the scenes. So
how does it feel to finally have it behind you? Because it must be a big relief.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's like, having a kid and you raise him and then you let him out in the world and all right, go do your business. So that's what it feels like to me. I worked so hard for like, a long time and now it's out in the world. And I'm like, all right, do your thing. I wash my hands and I'll have another kid, fairly soon because I'm a horny bastard. So
if anyone that is interested, we'll make sure to include an Amazon link in the description. Make sure to support John's work. Lance and I were able to see it. Great movie. And I'm excited to see the finished version because I only saw the work print. So
that's true.
I saw the trailer and I saw there's a bunch of different color correction. It looks gorgeous. Yeah. So very, very pumped for that. We are going to be talking about James Wan's return to horror, Malignant. Now, this was one of those day and date releases on HBO Max during the pandemic. So I either watched it at like midnight or early the next day. Did you guys watch this like on release?
I did not, no.
Probably the day or two after.
I don't remember, so I'm not going to bullshit.
Okay. Well, I'm curious just because, it was one of those movies. The last horror films that he had done were the two Conjuring films and then Insidious. So he has had a pretty good track record, at least in terms of, because both were reviewed well and did well financially. So I think that, and then obviously he's the creator of Saw. So I think there's a bit of expectation. So I remember when this movie released and it was a very polarizing reaction because you're either on board for the craziness or you're not. And I can just say right now, I was 100% on board for the craziness. I'm going to say this is so good so much, even when I mean this is so bad, because it's so good at being bad, and it's so bad at doing just like non-schlocky good, which I love. So I'm again so pumped to talk about this movie. And yeah, what's your guys' like general opinion on Malignant? John, start with you.
Fuck you. No, I loved it. I loved it when I saw it the first time. I just loved it. I thought it was James Wan at its peak James Wan. So, you mentioned Conjuring 2. I didn't care much for Conjuring 2. I thought it was a little bit slapdash, and I felt a lot of studio interference, as opposed to Conjuring 1, which it felt very cohesive and, very, very James Wan driven. Like, I know he got a lot of shit with the studio with Dead Silence. I know that for a fact. Universal was all up in his ass. And I felt with Conjuring 2, I don't remember who the studio was behind it. So I felt they were all up in his ass again. But with Malignant, it really came off like an author piece. It really came off like James Wan doing his fucking thing, whether you like it or not. It's him doing his fucking thing, unfiltered. That's what it felt like to me. Whether that's the truth or not is, that's debatable, I guess. Visually, the movie is beyond exquisite. He used similar color motif than he did in the Insidious franchise. A lot of blue, a lot of red. The camera work is insane, dude. The camera work is insane. They had, I think, $40 million budget, and it shows. A lot of huge, lavish shots, and the money is on the screen. So for me, just in terms of aesthetics, best James Wan horror movie ever made. Aesthetically. Narrative-wise, I was engaged. I was one of the people that did not see the twist coming. I had somebody actually on my Facebook say, "Oh, if you watch movies for 10 years, you see it coming." No, I didn't see it coming. I'm the arrow, so go fuck yourself. I didn't see it coming, so it was a big surprise. And overall, I really enjoyed it, and I watched it again a couple nights ago for the show. I enjoyed it even more, even though I knew the secrets,
Yeah, I do think it's even better on a rewatch. Lance, what about you?
I saw this a couple days after I think it came out. I was curious because I did the I did the edit for the review for our YouTube page. And so, when you do that, you have to look at all the footage 1,000 times and slow things down. And I was more curious. I'm not the biggest Wan fan. I know no shade, just that a lot of the movies aren't really my thing. But this was getting a lot of reactions of either great or bad. And I usually love those movies. So I sat down, and truth be told, I hated it. I was like, this is stupid. But there was something, there was a little itch, the back of my throat. The next day I was like thinking about it a little more. Like, it was stupid. Fun though. It's kind of fun. Like, and then I don't know if something happened, like somebody made a comment that said James Wan made so much money off of Aquaman that he went to the studio and says, I'm cashing in my card now. And he got to make essentially a 1992 straight to like DVD, those like expressive horror flicks, but it's also like bad but good. And I was like, I don't know about that. And then I remember there's a scene where she like parks on the cliff to go to like the men's institution. There's like lightning and a moon. I was like, wait a second. And then, the Matrix things, I'm like, that is kind of like ridiculous and goofy. And then I just start piecing them together. It was almost like, it was like the movie's like, da, 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 da. I'm seeing things over. And I was like, holy shit, James Wan like made a schlock film as his cashing card, but they played straight. So the weird thing about this movie is that trailers, it's a serious movie, but a lot of the stuff is very like off. Like I said, the shot where she parks, or even there's a thing where she falls. It's in the trailer, so I'm not ruining anything. And it's like 8 stories. I'm like, well, the house is only 2. Like, that's up there. That's up there. So I watched it again and again, and I love it. I came around. I tried to get my sister because she refuses to get another watch. She hated it too. I was like, no. Trust me. Just give me. It's like a cult. I'm like, come on. Like, give me some time. I'll work in. So that's my thoughts. I like it, and I'm glad I stuck with it.
Yeah, I had very complicated feelings when it ended because I was just like, what in the world happened? And then I remember watching it again a couple days later, and it's the opening scene in the asylum, and the doctor says,
You've been a bad, bad boy, Gabriel.
Everything clicked at that moment where I was just like, yes, I love this so much. This is amazing. They do so many things. The husband being a douchebag and shoving her head so hard up against the wall where I'm like, what were you trying to do other than kill her? It is so violent. And obviously there's reasoning for that, but it's still just like the intensity of it makes me laugh every single time. And I think that's one of the things in this is that just the extreme violence just makes me like giddy because it's just done in such an over the top way.
It's a very excessive film on pretty much every echelon. And yeah, I just said echelon with a straight face. So go with it, guys. From the visual motif, from the violence, the camera work. The camera work's fucking insane.
So good.
You remember that shot where I think somebody is running and it's a top shot that's following them like from room to room. Come on. Or, and I think we saw this shot in the trailer where she's laying in bed and Gabriel comes behind her and, the camera kind of fucking tilts or some shit like that. James Wan always had an eye. He has an eye, he has a very visual cinematic style. And he went like on steroids on this one, which I really appreciated. So it made it very operatic, if you will.
Yeah. Can you imagine that shot of her when she's like down on the ground and that's spinning around her as as everything's falling apart and then rebuilding, where it's like that shot with a less skilled director, it doesn't look as good because there's something that he did in terms of the practical on-set stuff for the animators that then made it where it just looks so much better. Because I almost guarantee you that same shot done in like, I don't know, a Disney thing, because they would do it 100% CGI, it wouldn't look right. It wouldn't. And there's just something about that shot in particular where I'm like, yep, even like things just don't look this good anymore. And it's because James Wan just has a very technical way of going about CGI that I didn't really realize until I did a deep dive into Aquaman and realized just how much practical he does on those, which is weird because you would think it's so CGI, but it's really not.
And actually, that scene that you're talking about, that would be one of my light peeves, if you will. It still looks like CGI.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So for me, when the room changes and everything like that, CGI. So it always takes me out. I don't know how you would execute a scene like that without CGI. Yeah. But it still looks CGI. But I really appreciated the use of practical effects. They were selling it even with the artwork and to some degree with the trailer, like a modern day giallo.
Yeah,
and I think that was a misfire personally. You got the aesthetics. You have a whodunit to some degree.
Black Love,
but still not a giallo. It's for me, it was not a giallo. So when I saw the artwork, I saw the trailer, and they were name dropping the word giallo. I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, let's go. And then I saw the picture. I enjoyed the film, like I said before, but it's not a fucking modern day giallo. In my opinion, it's not.
I'd agree with that.
I know Lance wants a fight. I see it.
Well, no, I was going to ask you. I had a little question. I keep hearing from a lot of people that this is a modern day giallo, or at least James Wan's giallo, whatever that means. So I want to ask you, and probably Tyler, because Tyler, you like Italian people, right? Italian horror.
Italian people.
Yeah,
they're all right. I mean, Italian horror is fine. I like slashers more than giallos, even though they're very similar.
Well, I wanted to ask though why this is being mistaken for one or given credit for being one when you think it's not. So basically, I want to know why. Give me your argument why it's not, because I hear a lot of, it is. Wan's Malignant is the giallo. And I'm like, well, I don't know anything about giallo. So as the resident giallo fan, I want to know your pitch on why it's not.
I can't answer that without going into spoiler territory.
Okay. Well, then
we'll get into it. Yeah. We'll get into it in spoilers, but I will just say the only thing that I can think of is color scheme. There's a killer element and then the detective element. That's the stuff I can see right off the top. But I also am not I'm not the giallo guy. So if this was a potential James Wan slasher movie, I could 100% get into that too, for you.
Let's get into spoilers. I think this is a fun, schlocky movie. Everybody should see it. Don't go off the trailers. Go off of me and John and Tyler saying it is a fun, schlocky movie. Yes. This is not Hereditary, No,
it is not.
I'll tell you guys right now, I did not see the conjoined twin twist that then she can essentially both the twin and her have control over her cranium to be able to close it and open it, and just like from willpower. That's like the best thing ever. I love this villain so much, especially on rewatches, because you can then see stuff like walking backwards. Like,
that's fucked.
it is the coolest looking thing, especially when I think it's the detective running after Gabriel, where then you can tell they very clearly shot someone like running backwards and then going down the fire escape. It's like this weird, like clearly them being backwards thing. And can you guys think of any other film that does that? I can't.
No. You know, they didn't use VFX on that. They use a contortionist to accomplish those effects. That was very impressive.
Amazing.
Very impressive. And it really brought further impact to the moments. Yeah.
That the jail scene, I think, is such a good ramp up. And like Zoe Bell is in it. Like
So that was Zoe Bell.
Yes.
Because I was like, that looks like Zoe Bell, but why the fuck would Zoe Bell be in the scene? You know? So I'm like, that looks like Zoe Bell. Oh, it was Zoe Bell. Okay.
Yeah, she's been getting into a lot more acting. I think she's really bad. Like everyone in the jail scene, in terms of acting wise, I think it's really over the top. But I think it works for what the whole movie is supposed to be, and it kind of makes you kind of root for Gabriel to do some damage during that scene.
Fuck him up. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it works pretty well. But
I mean, I think the jail cell was when it, I think, let it, like, besides the twist here was actually like, it's actually a joke. We're having fun. That was a twist. Like the Matrix scene in the police station's like, they're not trying to be serious. This is corny, but it's awesome. She's doing like flips. It's like, it's doing the fucking, not the, like the bullet cam thing around. Like, I was like, is this 1999? Yeah. The, like little head. And then the monster, when you see it and they go back and it's like a little puppet. When they flash back to the beginning scene, I was like, oh my God.
That shot is the best. It's like, its little arms.
No,
it reminded me of Kodo in Total Recall a little bit. Yeah?
Yes.
Well, and they also, it's shocking too, because they had this great actress, McKenna Grace, who's like in everything these days and likely will win an Oscar when she's older. She's one of those like caliber of actors. And so the fact that they have those little arms on her back is so funny and just cracks me up so much. I can only imagine what that girl thought. She's like, yeah, I get to be in a James Wan movie. And then it's like, ooh, put these on your back.
Let me ask you, both of you, do you think if they advertise this as a little more goofy or a little more just kind of out there, that it wouldn't be as divisive? Because I feel this is his most divisive movie, no?
It is. Well, it tanked. You guys know that, right? It didn't make any money, which is weird because James Wan, Insidious, money, Conjuring, money, even the, Aquaman, which is outside the genre, but money. Saw obviously made money. This one tanked. So I don't remember the marketing campaign. I remember the poster, with the eye and the knife. Is very 70s like giallo kind of poster. Maybe if they would have had a more modern type of marketing campaign, maybe it would have worked better. But, I just put it up on my Facebook, actually, because after rewatching it, I love Saw and I love the original Insidious and I love the first Conjuring. But I think this is his best film. Horror film, that is. I think it's his best horror film. It's everything you love about James Wan, like jacked up to like 500. That's the way I look at it. James Wan on steroids. Yeah.
Well, and what do you guys think of the weapon? Because that's one of my favorite things, is that it's like this old trophy fashioned into like a knife, and just it almost has like a Greek statue kind of feeling to it. So I don't know. I think it's just such a unique visual, especially with the long black hair and the black gloves, that weird trench coat thing that he has. I think I love the visual aesthetic in this. There's a great shot too of Gabriel's like at his little workbench thing, and the camera pulls back, and it almost like with the music too, it almost feels like a Saw type moment where you're watching Jigsaw at work, where it was like, it felt like a little bit of him like paying homage. So I enjoyed that because I'm a big Saw guy. So
yeah, you're a slasher guy, and this is for most of the movie a slasher movie until it becomes a monster movie that's also a slasher movie, and that's an action movie.
It becomes a basket case.
Yes.
Basket case like times 500 basically.
Yes, that's a good.
I keep saying that times 500. Just go with it. Nobody gets hurt. I would have wished that Gabriel ddn't speak.
Yeah,
I think it would have made him, like, the second he started being too verbal, then he kind of lost a bit of the scariness for me personally. But then again, what he said and everything like that kind of helped us as the audience kind of figure out where the narrative is going. So,
Well, and I'm curious. So one thing I didn't catch until this time, I think that they try to explain Gabriel's weird like electricity powers by showing that like during shock therapy, that was when he like, because he's like essentially being overloaded with voltage, where then suddenly they start seeing like it's the weird electricity thing where I'm like, is Gabriel like an X-Men, like where he's like get in these real tense situations and then his genetics change and he has these powers? Because I think outside of the weird like electricity powers, I think that there's a lot of this that feels like it could work a little better, but like the electricity powers, then it just makes it so ridiculous, but then it makes me love it even more. I think that if you don't have those electricity powers, then I'm like, then you don't have everything being as absurd and over the top. So it kind of, the other stuff doesn't leave as much of an impact, I feel.
Yeah. You want to establish the world, that in this world, some weird little alien baby back thing could also have powers and do backflips and fashion cool toys. I don't know. Everything. It's just like it does everything. It's like, okay, that's cool.
You know what it is, and I love it for it. It's a double down movie.
Yes.
So I'm going to double down. I'm going to double down. I'm going to double down. And then it gets to, to quasi absurd. But because there was an organic progression of the absurd, I'm all in, man. I'm all like, go nuts, man. Have him fly next, man. I'm cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm good.
You're right. Like half an hour in, it's a pretty serious movie, but there's these tinges. But you're right. Then it gets a little more. Then and then it's like, wait a second.
Breadcrumbs, just breadcrumbs of craziness, and then you're just like, it's been there the whole time.
When her house becomes like a 17-story, like her roof, I was like, that's like a cathedral. She lives in this like little cottage house, and then she falls because the twist is like the workshop's just in the attic, and then she falls onto the table. That's one of those things where I'm like, that's on purpose. Like he establishes the house 100 times, but then we have this amazing like 80-foot fall from the ceiling, and I'm like, okay.
One thing that I like too is that they have the whole concept that Madison has been unable to have kids because the Gabriel just absorbs them, just like takes all their nutrition. I really liked that, where it's like that's
kind of fucked up, man.
Super fucked up.
But then they give him little T-Rex arms. That's hilarious,
Yeah, they do that, and they do well. Like there's some stuff like when I say like it's bad, but it's so good. There's still smart things happening in this. Like Gabriel essentially is an abusive partner. At one point, he even says to her, "Look what you made me do." That is a like abusive partner
gaslighting.
101. Yeah,
he's gaslighting, man.
So then it's like I like that kind of stuff because it shows that yes, even though this is schlocky, they did still put in the work to make sense of things.
Yeah, it's like when you watch I mean, it's so generic to say Stranger Things, so maybe I'll say like, I guess Stranger Things will have to do. They make it the 80s, right? But it's still modern storytelling, modern editing. It's still, but they'll put like a couch in a bad wig and they'll put some fuzz in the TV. Like this is like James Wan made a very competent movie. He just like knew where I think to like John said, double down. Like, okay, A to B to C makes sense. We got to take care of. Okay. But she's gonna have to matrix and C. And it's like, okay, the whole matrix, matrix thing. It's like, okay, well then maybe an A. We'll do a little of this. So I mean, I agree. You can't say this is a bad movie. It's a good movie. It's a silly ass story, and how it grows and where it goes is quite.
How is this movie more silly or less silly than Brain Damage, Basket Case, or?
You're listing some silly movies.
You think? I don't think they're silly movies at all. I think.
Oh my god! What? You said what?
Brain Damage,
like Dead Alive.
Brain Damage. Brain Damage.
With the little
Elmer with the little penis thing that injects that dude with like some trippy shit and kills people. No,
are you saying that's not silly, or it is? I'm so confused.
It's not silly to me. It's just good horror. It's horror comedy, but it's good horror. But maybe we don't have the same definition as to the word silly.
Yeah, silly is more just
silly for me is like Naked Gun. That's silly,
oh no, that's funny. No, I guess this is a. semantics argument. I use silly in terms of being it's fun. It has like fun elements where it's like it's not too serious. The Matrix whole scene is silly. That's a silly scene because it's having fun with itself. It's lighthearted. I don't use it in like a Naked Gun. I know what you're saying, like slapstick. I mean silly isn't like just at times goofy. But Brain Damage is a great example, or even like the sequel's Basket Case. I would say Basket Case 2. It's like a slightly more silly version than this movie, but
Ghoulies 3. They go to college, if I remember correctly, right? Ghoulies
goes to college. It's been so long. I mean, I'm more of a Ghoulies 2 guy. Yeah.
That's silly, right? Malignant is not silly in my book. Basket Case is not silly in my book. And it's weird. It's off kilter. Malignant is not silly in my book. I mean, like you said, it's semantic. Silly for me means one thing. Silly for you means anything that's
having a Matrix scene in 2021. That's silly.
It's your fucking haircut's silly, bitch.
I mean, I don't have any hair though.
Yeah, exactly. I have the same one, so don't worry about it.
So I feel like we need to do final ratings. John, what's your final rating for this?
Why do I have to go first, man? You
Lance,
guys go
what's
first.
Your final rating?
7.
What? What a bitch. 7. Really? 7?
Yeah. It was a 5 when I saw it. The fact that it got the 7 is impressive.
Yo.
Oh God, here's the thing. Well, I won't own this. So 7 is 7. If it's ever on, I'll watch it. If I see it on HBO Max, I'll put it on. But it's just one of those it's fun. It's a fun movie for me, but it is super new, and there's a style to like these types of movies that this even has that I get that people love it. It's just this I don't connect with. There's a certain vibe to this that will always going to be a little distant to me. But I mean, hey, I love that he cashed in his ticket for this. I think that's the coolest thing ever. I respect him more knowing that like he had a blank check. I mean, I know they had a budget, but like they weren't going to tell him no. If he needed more money, they're going to give it to him.
Like I said, that's what I love about the movie. It's an auteur piece. Like,
but with a budget.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what kind of deal he did, with the studio and everything.
Aquaman.
But it is most definitely, probably most definitely an auteur piece.
Yeah.
And he did what the fuck he wanted, and I respect that. So, out of curiosity, Big T, what's your rating, if I may ask?
I'm right there with Lance. I guess 7 out of 10. I think that even though I love it, there's a lot of stuff that's can't fault. Like the what is that line that I had said at the beginning? You've been a bad boy, Gregory or Gabriel, where it's like those kinds of lines and things like that, where I'm like, yeah, I cringe a little bit at that stuff. Where I still enjoy it, but again, I'm weird with that, and I can't. 7's about my ceiling for this. I could even on a bad day see going down to a 6. Yeah.
Hey. Okay. So before I say my piece, I want to test you guys. All right, both you guys. All right.
Okay.
So give me your ratings. Saw the original. Go. Tyler.
10.
Lance.
8.
All right. Dead Silence.
7.
Lance. 5. What a dick. All right. The Conjuring.
9.
Nice.
4.
All right. It kind of gives me a barometer. For me, it's a solid 8 on its way to 9 for the film, just because it is so unique. It is so bold. It is, as we've mentioned, schlocky, but I respect that. It does a great job at being scary and cheesy at the same time. Visually, it's, for me, the most astounding looking James Wan horror film I've ever seen.
John, I'm curious. You've said horror film a couple times. What the non-horror film?
Aquaman.
Oh, okay. That's what I was wondering. So I was like, wait, are you talking about Furious 7 or Aquaman in terms of gorgeous?
Furious 7 is, for me, it's like, I hate that franchise. And,
that's,
James,
that's why I wanted to know, because I was like, Aquaman is gorgeous, but then I'm like, I don't know what one you're talking. Okay, Aquaman. That makes sense.
Aquaman's is Flash Gordon. Yes. That's the way I looked at it. I even, anyways, it's his Flash Gordon.
Great comparison.
Fast and Furious, for me, past part 1 is garbage across the board. And James is very talented and whatever, but I couldn't give 2 flying fucks about that franchise, man. I so don't care. And I heard, I made a joke once, they're going to go in space, but I heard they did go in space, right?
Yep.
Come on, guys and dolls. Work with me over here, yeah? Yeah, no, for me, it's really up there. And it's the kind of movie that the more I watch, the more I appreciate the big bulldog balls on it. So
yeah, I could not agree more. And I'm very curious as to what the comment section will be saying in this one. Let us know down below as to what your opinion is on this. Do you like it? Do you not? Are you in the middle? let us know, and also give us a rating too, because I'm very curious as to where this falls, because I do think it's a tough film to rate for me personally, because it's one of those movies where I'm weird with the ratings, and something that I really like, I will still rate lower. So I'm like, I think I did the same thing with like Happy Death Day, where I'm like, I really, really like the movie. I think I still gave it like a 6. So it's like, I'm real weird with the ratings.
Well, I was not surprised by Lance, because Lance is Lance. But hey, how you doing? But I was really surprised, because you've been blowing this fucking movie the whole show, and at the end you gave it a 7. I was very disappointed in you, Big T.
I just have issues. I had some problems with it, but overall, I still really enjoyed the film, and it's one of those ones that I put on to have a good time with, probably every 6 months or so. So it's still that level for me. And yeah, let us know in the comments below what you think of it. And thank you guys so much for joining. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye bye.
Peace. Bye.